Brand new racing simulators don't usually get released all too often, and I'm not a game developer so I can't really comment on why that might be, but there are a really good handful of sims to choose from, and because it's only a handful, they're all generally really high quality sims as they all compete with each other to be the best sim out there. However, because new sims tend to not get released all too often, a good chunk of the sims out there are fairly old, some being over 12 years old. I'm looking at you, iRacing. Some of these older sims have aged like a fine French wine, and others have aged more like a container of cottage cheese left outside in the Southern California sun for the entire month of August. Today, I want to talk about Kunos' first big hit, Assetto Corsa, and I want to try to answer the question, is Assetto Corsa still worth it? Yes, it is. Video over. Okay, let me tell you why it's still worth it. Before we jump into it, I just want to let you know that I'm thinking of turning these sorts of videos where I look at a particular simulator into a series, and at the end of the series, after having gone through all the major simulators, I want to make one big video that tries to rank each simulator against each other. It's a little cliche, but let me know if that's something you'd like to see. Anyway, let me tell you why Assetto Corsa is still worth it. The sheer volume of content in Assetto Corsa is kind of insane. With all of the DLC taken into account, there are a staggering 177 different cars in Assetto Corsa, ranging from vintage road cars to fairly recent Formula 1 cars. Along with the 177 cars, you get 19 tracks. This may seem way too low in comparison to the amount of cars that you get, but I'll get to that later. Want to drift? This is your game. Want to take an LMP1 car around a Japanese mountain road? This is your game. Want to get taken out at turn 1 at Imola in a Ferrari F2004? This is your game. Basically, for the $40 US it costs to get the Ultimate Edition of Assetto Corsa, which includes all of the DLCs, it's a pretty good chunk of content you get for that price. However, whenever there's a major Steam sale or if Kunos decides to put AC on sale, the Ultimate Edition gets as low as $8. And this happens regularly. Yeah, that's a steal. Alright, let's talk about the Sim's force feedback and physics. Quick disclaimer, I have never driven anything faster than a stock Scion TC, so my perception of physics in a racing car is pretty much nothing. Anyway, Assetto Corsa's force feedback feels like a less refined version of ACC's force feedback, which I guess makes a lot of sense, considering ACC is the sequel to AC, and don't get me wrong, I do really like Assetto Corsa's force feedback, and I honestly do prefer it over a lot of other sim titles. There just isn't quite as many details in the way the tires feel over curves and bumps in the track as you might expect if you're coming from ACC. Physics-wise, this is where I get the most impressed. As I mentioned earlier, Assetto Corsa has cars ranging from vintage road cars to modern Formula 1 cars. That's a fairly wide variety, to say the least. The only other sim that I've played that has this wide of a variety in cars is Project Cars 2. I can tell you right now, Assetto Corsa doesn't have one car that has that unfinished quality to it. I have to say, driving in the bathtubs full of fuel, I mean cars like the Lotus Type 49, around the classic layout of Monza is just as breathtaking as it is immersive and terrifying. I can promise you, in terms of immersion and beauty, I've had similar experiences with almost every car in the game. Well, except the Audi Sport Quattro. God, I can't drive rally cars to save my life. Also, I'm not sure if this is still accurate or not, but I do remember reading about and agreeing with Assetto Corsa being regarded as the best sim for anything regarding open-wheel cars. Whether that's Formula 1 or Junior Formulas, it's almost the best you can get. Besides, you know, the multi-million-dollar Mercedes Formula 1 simulator. Kunos developed Assetto Corsa with copious amounts of customization and modding capabilities in mind. For the PC version, anyway. This means you can use any different combinations of on-screen displays to make your own HUD layout, or even download a third-party app to get a better-looking HUD. This also means that if you want to drive or race a car, or even a lawnmower, that isn't in the base game, it's almost guaranteed that there's a mod that lets you drive it in Assetto Corsa. Okay, remember earlier when I mentioned you only get 19 tracks with the base game? Well, with mods, you can have as many as your heart desires. Or as many as your hard drive can hold. There of course are some absolutely atrocious mods out there, but there are also some mods that have quality like it came straight out of Kunos' studio. The most popular resource for finding mods, whether it be for tracks, cars, weather, or even to change the way the graphics look, is on Race Department. I'll have a link to their site in the description. One of the only things I don't like too much about Assetto Corsa is the UI. The main menus and pre-race menus aren't too gross looking or anything, but it's just a little bit clunky and a little bit dated. What's mind-blowing to me is there's even a mod to change the UI. Technically it's just an alternative launcher, but you know, same thing. The alternative launcher is called Content Manager, and it also has a section that connects to Race Department to allow you to search for mods and install them all from the launcher. It's pretty nifty. The second and last thing I'm not a big fan of is the graphics. In 2020, soon to be 2021, they do look pretty dated. Not as dated as R-Factor 2, but still a bit dated. However, can you guess what I'm about to say? There's a mod to change graphics, add shaders, and even add in different types of weather. This is a mod called Sol, and while it's mainly a weather simulation mod for Assetto Corsa, it does add in shaders as well. Sol does a lot more than what I just listed off, but I feel like those are the most important. If you want to take a look at it, there's a link to it in the description, or you can also just find it on Race Department. If you're on PC, Content Manager and the Sol mod are essential in my opinion. The Sol mod alone makes Assetto Corsa look like a brand new sim, and that in conjunction with the already fantastic physics and force feedback, it stands up as a sim that is definitely still worth it. For me, it beats a good majority of the rest of the sims out there. If you're on console, I would say it's still worth the $40 for the Ultimate Edition, as there isn't too many other options on console, but if you can get past the slightly dated UI, which really isn't even that big of a deal, and the slightly dated graphics, you'll still have a blast. That's all for today, fellas, and I'd like to know, do you still enjoy Assetto Corsa, or rate it as a sim still worth buying? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed, I'd really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button and liked the video, it really does help me out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.